Ladies and gentlemen, take a moment to think about this. Every decision you make is a vote for the kind of person you want to become. Staying up late watching TV instead of getting ready for the next day? That's a vote. Choosing a sugary snack over a healthier option? Another vote. Skipping your reading time to scroll through social media? Yet another vote. Step by step, choice by choice. You're casting ballots that shape who you are becoming. The truth is, the potential of your future is hidden in your daily habits. These routines are like unseen threads weaving the pattern of your life. Some of these threads are strong, built from discipline, consistency, and intention. Others are weak, formed from delay, excuses, and short-term comfort. The overall quality of your life depends on which threads are more dominant in your personal tapestry. Here's something important to understand. Success isn't something you chase. Often, what we chase stays out of reach. Success is something you draw in by becoming the kind of person who naturally achieves it. And that transformation starts with your habits. The small daily choices that shape your mindset, skills, and ultimately your path in life. Now, let's be clear. Removing unhelpful habits isn't simple. If it were, everyone would be living remarkable lives. But many aren't willing to make the effort or the sacrifices that greatness requires. They settle into their routines, relying on reasons and justifications for why their goals remain out of reach. But you're not here by accident. You're here because something within you knows you're meant for more. You want to reshape yourself into someone with stronger discipline, greater resilience, and the power to achieve what others believe is impossible. And that change begins now with recognizing and breaking the patterns that have been holding you back. Let's explore how transformation truly happens. Transformation begins with awareness. You cannot change what you refuse to acknowledge. Take an honest look at your life. Which of your current habits are not aligned with your best self? Be completely honest. The truth may feel uncomfortable, but comfort has never led to real growth. Maybe it's your morning routine, hitting the snooze button multiple times before rushing into the day without focus or intention. Or perhaps it's how you handle your finances, spending impulsively on short-term pleasures with no lasting value. It might even be your health habits, choosing convenience over good nutrition, staying inactive, or prioritizing distractions over real rest. Whatever those unhelpful habits may be, write them down. There's real power in seeing them on paper. Doing so forces you to face them directly. It removes their ability to hide behind denial or excuses. Once you've clearly identified your weak habits, the next step is to replace them with stronger ones. Nature doesn't tolerate empty space. If you simply remove a habit without putting something better in its place, the old one will eventually return. So for every weak habit, create a strong one to replace it. Instead of hitting snooze, build a morning routine that grounds and energizes you. Instead of spending carelessly, develop a budget that reflects your long-term goals. Instead of neglecting your health, adopt a consistent plan for eating well and staying active, one that respects and supports your body. But here's where many people struggle. They try to change everything all at once. It becomes overwhelming. And when results don't come quickly, they fall back into old habits. Avoid that trap. Start with just one or two key changes. Focus your energy there. Build consistency and confidence before adding more. Remember, the goal isn't perfection. The goal is progress. And small, steady progress adds up in powerful ways over time. Just a 1% improvement each day leads to a 37-fold improvement over the course of a year. That's the power of compounding. It applies to personal growth just as it does in finance. Now, let's talk about what I call the 5 steps to eliminating a weak habit. First, identify the habit and understand its triggers. What situations, emotions, or environments typically lead to this behavior? Awareness is always the first step to change. Second, create a strong reason to change. Your why needs to be powerful enough to carry you through the discomfort that comes with growth. When your why is clear, the how becomes much more manageable. Third, shape your environment for success. Remove temptations and triggers that feed the old habit. Instead, surround yourself with people, places, and tools that support your new path. Fourth, establish a replacement habit, something that aligns with your goals. Remember, nature dislikes a vacuum. If you remove a habit, you must replace it with something better or the old pattern will return. Fifth, be patient and stay consistent. Habit change is not a one-time event. It's a process. It takes time for new neural pathways to form. Stay committed, even if progress feels slow at times. Now, let's talk about the role of discipline in this journey. Discipline is the link between setting a goal and achieving it. It turns dreams into plans and plans into results. Without it, even the best strategy won't work. There are two kinds of pain in life, the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. Discipline may feel uncomfortable, but regret weighs far heavier. Choose your discomfort wisely. Discipline isn't about being hard on yourself. It's about caring for your future self. It's choosing today's effort over tomorrow's disappointment. It's understanding that the short-term discomfort of doing what's necessary is small compared to the deep, lasting satisfaction of becoming the person you're meant to be. And the best part? Discipline gets easier with practice. The more you train your discipline, the stronger it becomes. Over time, what once took serious effort becomes automatic, even enjoyable. That's when true transformation begins. Throughout my career, I've had the opportunity to meet thousands of successful individuals, entrepreneurs, artists, athletes, and philanthropists. And one thing is clear, none of them reached greatness by accident. Every one of them made intentional choices about their habits. They understood that excellence isn't a one-time act, it's a habit, as Aristotle once said. These individuals weren't necessarily more talented or lucky than others. They simply made different decisions about how to invest their time, energy, and attention. They chose discipline over regret. They eliminated weak habits before those habits could derail their dreams. Now let's take a closer look at some common weak habits and how you can replace them with stronger ones. Procrastination is one of the biggest obstacles to success. You tell yourself, I'll do it tomorrow, but tomorrow rarely arrives. Replace this with the habit of immediate action. When something needs to be done, take care of it right away. This one shift can dramatically increase your productivity and effectiveness. Negative self-talk eats away at confidence and holds you back. Replace it with positive affirmations and empowering questions. Instead of asking, why does this always happen to me? Ask, what can I learn from this? Instead of saying, I can't do this, say, I'm learning how to do this. Comparison is another weak habit that drains joy and distorts progress. Replace it with personal benchmarking. Measure yourself only against your past self, not against others. Focus on your own growth. Even the small wins matter. And finally, emotional reactivity leads to stress and poor decisions. Replace it with the habit of thoughtful response. Create space between what happens and how you react. Pause. Take a breath. Choose your response with clarity. Be intentional with your decisions. Choose thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. One common weak habit is information overload. Constantly absorbing news, social media, and emails, this fragments your focus and drains mental energy. Replace it with selective consumption. Be deliberate about what you allow into your mind. Prioritize quality over quantity and depth over breadth. Another habit that holds many back is saying yes to everything. It spreads your energy too thin and limits your ability to excel. Instead, adopt the habit of strategic elimination. Say no to good opportunities so you can say yes to the great ones. Remember, the greatest threat to the best is often the merely good. Now, here's a concept that completely shifted how I approach habit change. Identity-based habits. Most people focus on outcome-based habits. They say, I want to lose weight or I want to save money. But real lasting change starts with identity. Focus not on what you want to achieve, but on who you want to become. Don't say, I want to lose 20 pounds. Say, I'm someone who takes care of my health. Don't say, I want to save more. Say, I'm a disciplined manager of my finances. When you shift your identity, your behaviors follow naturally. You no longer have to force yourself to act a certain way. You simply act in line with the kind of person you believe yourself to be. This change in mindset is powerful. It turns habit formation into a process of authenticity, not resistance. You're not fighting against yourself. You're stepping into who you truly are. You're becoming the person you were always meant to be. But this journey requires courage, the courage to let go of who you were so you can step into who you're capable of becoming, the courage to embrace discomfort instead of settling for what's familiar, the courage to risk disappointing those who are attached to the old version of you. And let's be clear, courage is not the absence of fear, it's the recognition that something matters more than fear. In this case, that something is your potential, the person you can become when you break free from the limits of unproductive habits. Now, it's important to address a key element in this process, the role of failure. As you work to eliminate weak habits, you will experience failure. Let me repeat that. You will fail. There will be times when old behaviors resurface, when your willpower fades, and when outside circumstances work against your best efforts. But here's the important truth. Failure is something that happens. It doesn't define who you are. Failing does not make you a failure. It simply confirms you're human. The real question isn't if you'll fail, it's how you'll handle it when it happens. Will you allow it to become an excuse to stop trying, or will you treat it as useful feedback to help you grow? Will you view it as proof that change is impossible or as a vital part of learning? High achievers, those who have rebuilt themselves by replacing weak habits, didn't avoid failure. In fact, they failed more often than most, but they kept going. They adapted, they learned, and eventually they succeeded. So when failure happens, and it will, don't criticize yourself. Don't treat it as confirmation that you're incapable of change. Instead, approach it with curiosity. What caused the setback? What can you do differently next time? How can you better prepare for success in the future? This leads to another essential factor in overcoming weak habits: accountability. Everyone has blind spots. We all face moments of struggle. We all need encouragement and support during transformation. Find someone who sees your potential and is committed to helping you grow. Share your goals with them, update them regularly, and allow them to hold you to your word, especially when you're tempted to slip back into old patterns. Accountability is not about criticism or blame. It's about love. Loving yourself enough to welcome others into your journey. It's about humility, acknowledging that no one can reach their full potential entirely on their own. And it's about wisdom, realizing that the right support can significantly increase your chances of success. I often share the story of two individuals trying to quit smoking. The first kept his goal to himself. When cravings hit, he had only his own willpower to rely on. The second told everyone around him, family, friends, coworkers. When he struggled, he leaned not only on his own strength, but also on the support and expectations of his community. Now ask yourself, who had a better chance of success, the one who kept quiet or the one who embraced accountability? The answer is clear. We're social beings. We tend to perform better when others are watching, when we know someone is counting on us, and when we can share both wins and lessons with others. So don't try to eliminate your weak habits alone. Bring others into your process. Be honest about your challenges. Celebrate your progress together. Learn from each other's journeys. Now let's talk about patience. We live in an age of instant gratification. We expect results quickly, sometimes immediately. But real habit change doesn't work that way. It takes time for new brain pathways to develop. It takes time before new actions start to feel natural instead of forced. You may have heard the idea that it takes 21 days to form a habit. The truth is more nuanced. Depending on the habit, the person, and the situation, it can take anywhere from 18 to 254 days for a new behavior to become automatic. On average, it's around 66 days, over 2 months of consistent effort. So be patient with yourself. Don't expect instant transformation. Celebrate the small wins. Understand that even if progress seems slow, important changes are happening beneath the surface. The seeds you plant now will grow into results if you stay committed and don't give up. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. You don't need to perform your new habits perfectly every time. Research shows that occasionally missing a chance to follow through on a habit has little to no impact on long-term habit formation. What matters most is the overall trend, not isolated moments of success or failure. This leads me to an important point, the power of tracking. What gets measured gets managed. If you want to eliminate weak habits and establish strong ones, start tracking your behavior. Whether it's through a journal, a spreadsheet, or a mobile app, it doesn't matter as long as you stay consistent. Tracking serves many purposes. It helps you become more aware of your behavior patterns, it offers tangible proof of your progress, it fosters accountability, even if that accountability is only to yourself, and perhaps most importantly, it gives you the chance to celebrate small wins along the way. Don't overlook the power of celebration in the habit-building process. When you celebrate your progress, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical responsible for feelings of pleasure. This creates a positive feedback loop, reinforcing the behavior and increasing the likelihood of repeating it. So track your habits and celebrate your victories, no matter how small. Did you resist the urge to check social media during productive time? Celebrate. Did you choose a healthy meal over fast food? Celebrate. Did you save a portion of your paycheck instead of spending it all? Celebrate. These celebrations don't need to be grand. Simply acknowledging I did it can be powerful. The key is to link that positive feeling with the behavior you want to encourage. Now, let's talk about the role of your environment in this process. Your environment often has more impact on your behavior than your willpower. If you're trying to eat healthier, but your kitchen is filled with junk food, you're setting yourself up for failure. If you're working to be more productive, but your workspace is cluttered and distracting, you're facing an uphill battle. Design your environment to support the habits you want, not sabotage them. Make the behaviors you want to practice easy and the ones you don't want to engage in difficult. Remove triggers that lead to weak habits and create reminders for strong ones. For example, if you want to read more, place books in visible spots around your home and keep your devices out of sight. If you want to exercise in the morning, lay out your workout clothes the night before. If saving money is your goal, set up automatic transfers to your savings so you don't have to rely on willpower every month. This approach to designing your environment is rooted in a fundamental truth about human behavior. We tend to follow the path of least resistance. By making the habits you want to build the easiest option, you're leveraging this natural tendency rather than fighting against it. Now, let's talk about the role of identity in this process. As I mentioned earlier, the most powerful way to change your habits is to focus on who you want to become rather than just what you want to achieve. But how do you change your identity? Identity change happens gradually through a feedback loop between your actions and your beliefs. Your behaviors shape how you see yourself, and how you see yourself shapes your behaviors. It's a cycle. To change your identity, start by taking small actions that align with the person you want to become. These actions may feel uncomfortable or unnatural at first because they conflict with your current self-image. That's normal. Keep taking those actions. Over time, as you continue to act in ways that reflect your desired identity, your self-perception will begin to shift. You'll begin to see yourself as the kind of person who engages in these behaviors. Once you identify as such, these actions will become more natural and automatic. For example, if you want to become a disciplined person, start by taking small, disciplined actions, making your bed each morning, keeping your commitments, arriving on time. At first, these actions may feel forced and require conscious effort, but over time, as you continue, you'll start to view yourself as a disciplined person. And once that shift happens, acting with discipline will come naturally. This is why I often say that motivation follows action, not the other way around. Many people wait for motivation before taking action, but that's the wrong approach. Take action first, even when you don't feel like it, and motivation will follow. Action creates momentum, and momentum fuels motivation. Now let's discuss a common obstacle in the habit change process, the influence of your social circle. It's often said you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. This isn't just a catchy phrase, it's a powerful truth about human behavior. Your social environment shapes your norms, expectations, and aspirations. If you're surrounded by people who engage in the very habits you're trying to eliminate, your journey will be much harder. Their behavior will trigger your old patterns and undermine your efforts. And this doesn't mean you need to cut ties with friends and family, but it does mean being intentional about who you spend time with and how they influence you. Seek relationships with people who embody the qualities and habits you want to adopt. Limit time with those who reinforce your weak habits, and remember that influence works both ways. As you work to eliminate your weak habits, you'll become a positive influence on those around you. Your transformation can inspire others to begin their own journeys of growth and change. Let me share a powerful truth that has guided my own journey. Success leaves clues. Whatever you want to achieve or become, someone has already paved the way. Learn from them. Study their habits, mindsets, and strategies. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. If you want to become financially successful, study the habits of wealthy people. If you want to improve your health, study the habits of healthy individuals. If you want to build a thriving business, study the habits of successful entrepreneurs. This doesn't mean blindly copying others. We all have unique circumstances, strengths, and challenges, but by learning from those who have achieved what you aspire to, you can speed up your progress and avoid common mistakes. Books, podcasts, courses, and mentors are all valuable resources for learning success habits. Invest in yourself. The knowledge and insights you gain from these resources will pay dividends for the rest of your life. Now let's address an important question. What if you're not sure which habits to focus on? What if you're unclear about the person you want to become? Start by clarifying your values and goals. What matters most to you? What kind of life do you want to create? What impact do you want to have on the world? Your answers to these questions will guide your habit choices. For example, if family is a core value, you might prioritize habits that allow you to be present with your loved ones, such as limiting work hours, creating technology-free zones at home, and establishing family rituals. If health is a priority, you might focus on habits like regular exercise, nutritious eating, adequate sleep, and stress management. If continuous learning matters to you, you might develop habits around reading, taking courses, seeking new experiences, and reflecting on what you've learned. The key is alignment. Your habits should align with your values and goals. When they do, motivation comes more naturally because you connect your daily actions to what truly matters to you. This leads me to another important aspect of eliminating weak habits. Understanding the power of keystone habits. These are habits that, when changed, create positive ripple effects throughout your life. They trigger a chain reaction of other improvements without requiring the same level of effort. For instance, regular exercise is a keystone habit for many people. Once they start exercising consistently, they often find themselves naturally eating better, sleeping better, and feeling more energetic and confident. These changes weren't directly targeted, but they resulted from the keystone habit. Other examples of keystone habits include getting enough sleep, daily planning, meditation, and tracking finances. Focusing on these keystone habits can help you achieve more significant results in the transformation process. Now let's discuss the role of systems in eliminating weak habits. Goals are important because they provide direction and motivation, but systems are what lead to results. A goal is the outcome you want to achieve, while a system is the process that gets you there. Too often, we focus only on goals without creating effective systems to support them. For example, we say, I want to lose 20 pounds, but don't establish a sustainable diet and exercise plan. Or we say, I want to write a book without setting up a regular writing routine. The issue with this approach is that once a goal is achieved, the behavior often stops. But when you fall in love with the system, the daily process, you continue the behavior long after the goal is reached. So set ambitious goals, but then focus on creating and implementing the systems that will lead you to those goals. Fall in love with the process, not just the outcome. Let me share a story that illustrates this principle. I once knew a man who set a goal to run a marathon. He trained hard for months, completed the marathon, and then stopped running altogether. Once the goal was achieved, the behavior stopped. I knew another man who also set a goal to run a marathon, but instead of focusing only on the race, he focused on becoming a runner. He created a sustainable running practice that fit into his lifestyle. He joined a running club and explored different types of runs, trails, tracks, and roads. After completing the marathon, he continued running because he had fallen in love with the process. The marathon was simply a milestone on a longer journey. Which approach do you think leads to more lasting change, the goal-focused approach or the system-focused approach? The answer is clear. Systems are more effective than goals when it comes to long-term transformation. Now let's address a common misconception about habit change, the idea that it's all about willpower. Willpower is a limited resource. If you rely solely on willpower to break weak habits, you'll eventually run out of it and fall back into old patterns. Instead of relying on willpower, focus on designing your life to reduce the need for it. Create an environment that supports your desired habits. Establish routines that automate positive behaviors, and surround yourself with people who reinforce your new identity. This doesn't mean willpower isn't important. It is, especially in the early stages of habit change when new behaviors haven't yet become automatic. But willpower should be your backup system, not your primary strategy. Think of willpower like emergency savings rather than your regular income. You don't want to drain it on day-to-day challenges. You want to save it for unexpected obstacles. Let me share another powerful strategy for eliminating weak habits. Implementation intentions. These are specific plans that outline when, where, and how you'll perform a certain behavior. They take the form of, when situation X arises, I will do Y. For example, instead of saying I'll exercise more, you might say every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 o'clock a.m., I'll go to the gym and follow my workout. Instead of saying I'll eat healthier, you might say, when I feel the urge to snack in the afternoon, I'll eat an apple or a handful of nuts. Implementation intentions remove ambiguity and decision fatigue. They turn vague aspirations into concrete action plans. Research shows that people who use implementation intentions are significantly more likely to follow through than those who don't. Now, let's talk about the importance of starting small. Many people fail in their habit change efforts because they try to do too much too soon. They decide to overhaul their diet, exercise routine, sleep schedule, and work habits all at once. This approach almost always leads to burnout and the abandonment of the entire effort. A more effective approach is to start with tiny habits, behaviors that are so small, they require minimal motivation and effort. Want to start meditating? Begin with just 1 minute per day. Want to read more? Start with a single page before bed. Want to improve your nutrition? Add 1 vegetable to your daily diet. These tiny behaviors might seem insignificant, but they serve a critical purpose. They establish the neural pathways for the habit and build your identity as the kind of person who engages in this behavior. Once the habit is established, you can gradually increase the duration or intensity. Remember, consistency is more important than intensity, especially in the beginning. It's better to meditate for 1 minute every day than for an hour once a week. It's better to read 1 page every day than to read 100 pages once a month. Start small, stay consistent, and gradually increase the challenge as the behavior becomes more automatic. This approach is sustainable and leads to lasting change. Now, let me address a question you might be wondering. How long does it take to kill a weak habit? The answer depends on several factors: the strength of the habit, your motivation for change, the effectiveness of your strategy, and the support systems you have in place. Some habits can be changed relatively quickly, in a matter of weeks. Others may take months or even years to fully transform. The key is to focus on the process, not the timeline. Trust that if you're consistently taking steps in the right direction, change will happen, even if it's slower than you'd like. And remember, habit change isn't linear. You'll experience setbacks along the way. There will be days when old patterns resurface, when motivation wanes, and when progress seems elusive. This doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're human. The path to transformation is rarely a straight line. It's more often a series of ups and downs, forward and backward. But as long as the general trend is upward, you're on the right track. Let me share a powerful mindset shift that can help you navigate these ups and downs. Think of habit change as an experiment rather than a test. A test is something you pass or fail. An experiment, on the other hand, is something you learn from, regardless of the outcome. When you approach habit change as an experiment, every attempt, successful or not, provides valuable data. What worked, what didn't, why? How can you adjust your approach based on what you've learned? This experimental mindset reduces the emotional charge of setbacks. Instead of thinking, I failed, you think, that's interesting. That approach didn't work as well as I expected. What can I try next? This keeps you engaged in the process instead of giving up when things don't go as planned. Don't wait until you're in the midst of a stressful situation to figure out how to cope. Develop your stress management toolkit now and practice using these tools regularly. Remember, stress isn't just an emotional experience, it's a physiological one. When you're chronically stressed, your body enters a state of fight or flight with elevated cortisol levels and decreased immune function. This state makes it difficult to think clearly, make wise choices, and exercise self-control. By managing your stress effectively, you create the physiological conditions necessary for successful habit change. You enable your prefrontal cortex to do its job, overriding automatic responses and making choices aligned with your long-term goals. As we near the end of our time together, I want to leave you with a few final thoughts on rebuilding yourself by killing your weak habits. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Failure is simply a few errors in judgment repeated every day. The real question is, what are you practicing daily? You are not what you want to be. You are not what you hope to be. You are not what you intend to be. You are what you do. Your habits define you. They create your life story one day at a time. So write a story worth telling. Create a life worth living. Become a person worth becoming. It all starts with your habits, those small decisions you make every single day that shape your character, your capabilities, and ultimately your destiny. The choice is yours. The time is now. The person you're capable of becoming is waiting for you to take that first step. Don't keep them waiting any longer.